7:34. Okay, we have a couple of public hearings. So, this is for the commission. So I go to other towns and I've been in planning and zoning meetings and the chair introduces everybody on the commission. And I was thinking, how important is that to this commission? Okay, that answered the question.
Unimportant.
That's everyone's got their name. Although I see you're not.
Until the call comes, Andrew is seated in the blue. Right here. Okay, and call's here, so then you've got all your 6 full members.
Yeah. So who actually sends notices out to like new members of planning and zoning to make sure they get here on time? just saying. Oh, Paul, I didn't see you.
I was the same guy who was coaching 9 and 10-year-olds outside. Kids first.
Okay. I'll get it to you. Only this month. Though. All right. So our first public hearing is James Urbano, regulation revision. Revisions to the zoning regulations for the town of Woodbridge proposed by the Town of Planning and Zoning Commission regarding the addition of residential uses in the GB district and reinstatement of the exclusion of exempt structures on the roof that were omitted when the zoning regulations were updated in 1963.
So for the commission's purposes, there's a copy of the regulations that contain the verbiage that is seeking to be reinstated.
So, and is this the way we measure every building into every project, every house now? This is how we do it?
This is not in our language right now.
But we're putting this in for every place though. That's the way we're going to do roof heights and houses, everything.
Not roof heights. The exemption part is what's being added. That was omitted.
The height of a building shall be measured from the mean level of the ground surrounding the building to a point midway between the highest and lowest points of the main roof. We're doing that or we don't do that? We do that already.
I don't have my zoning regulations
Okay.
right now. But what was left out was provided that chimneys, spires, towers, elevator, penthouses, tanks, and similar projections shall not be included in the height. That section is omitted from our current definition of height.
So then we're assuming that what I just read is already in there.
Should be. I did not bring my zoning regs.
Okay.
Your definition is in your zoning regs.
And when it says, I know what a chimney is, I know what a spire is, towers seems a little loose. How, is there no size footprint on this tower size? I mean, I get it.
Exempt under this.
Hmm?
They're exempt under this. So up until 1963.
Yeah, I know they're exempt. That means you can put a tower up there and say this is in the tower category, so therefore we can do this. We can put a tower on there.
This is the language that's being sought to go back into place that was omitted, I believe, as a Scribner's error in 1963 when the regs were recodified back then.
Okay, and I'm just trying to ask for clarification.
Your applicant is here, and I'm not the applicant.
Well, I'll ask the applicant, but with all due respect, if it was a Scribner mistake, that would be the staff, not you, obviously.
No.
I want to be really clear about that.
Yeah, I was only 11 back then.
So I get that. Yes. 63. Oh, I was barely born.
See?
Barely. So it seems that something needs to be a little bit tighter in there,
That's for you guys to decide.
From the meeting where this came up, it was my understanding that the regulation passed, it never made it into the official regs, and something had to be done to clear that up at some point in the future.
Right. And so,
So, but because it was omitted, it's going in now, and therefore we get to ask questions all over again.
Right. So because we've been practicing a certain way, does that become the de facto regulation? Or does it go back to what was passed in 1960, whatever?
the application before you is to amend the zoning regulations to include residential uses in the GB district and to reinstate the exemption portion, which is that last part that I just read, that used to be in the regulations.
Yeah, and
So that is not-
the part that's yellow here is actually not exactly.
It's not the whole thing. no.
Right, so it starts at what?
Provided that.
Okay, so my only question is the size of what the tower is, and I'm a little confused why we're asking an applicant to tell us what a Scribner mistake was supposed to say.
The Scribner's mistake was that this language was not kept in the definition.
I understand that, so, the,
So,
okay,
there
so.
was never a height given. So if you don't want to exclude them, then you just take out the word towers.
Right,
And then they would have to conform to the rest of the different heights that are allowed in different zones.
okay, so let's hear from the applicant, and then we can, in our work session, talk about whether towers should stay in or have a size on it, or,
Well, there is a similar projection, so we could just take out towers and whatever that might be, we could say it's a similar projection.
yeah. Well, elevator penthouses can be pretty specific. But that basically means if there's an elevator in there, that penthouse is gonna be the size that the elevator company says this is what you need. So that, I get, but just a tower has me a little concerned. And are we looking at heights in here?
That's what I'm trying to find. That's
Do
exactly.
you know of any towers that were in existence before this error was made, so that we could have a comparison?
No, the true issue that we've seen with this is with church spires.
So,
Yeah,
although I will
exemption.
tell you, I was involved actually in a house, it wasn't my office, it was somebody else's office, that they have a tower on their house and they had to come for a variance for their tower. And that was after 1963.
Right, because they weren't excluded.
Right. But that tower, by the way, is probably, I bet you it's 30 by 30. So that's serious structure. It's not. Okay, so we'll get to this in the work
Yes.
session.
Let's hear from.
But we do need to find the height in here, because,
It's under definition.
But the only one I see, excuse me, the only one I see is the elevation of a co-located telecommunications facility. Is there another one? Because that says height.
No, that's under.
Okay.
Before you deliberate, I'll go down and.
okay, Mr. Vaughn,
Yes, hello.
how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you. Should we finish the conversation on the tower? What?
No.
No?
We're gonna let you start the conversation and then we'll finish it.
Okay.
How's that?
So I hope you still have your elevations from the last meeting in June, which showed the tower? If you don't, I'll just quickly show.
Alan does.
All right. So the tower proposed is not a minaret or something exceedingly tall. It's about 5 feet higher than what the current regulations allow. So it's asking for the zoning ordinance to permit a tower, decorative tower, ornamental tower, that's an architectural feature that's higher than what is allowed now. Simple as that.
And, let's see here.
I had asked you to look at 15 Research Drive, where I constructed a building that includes a tower, and that tower is somewhat tentative. You can see that it should have been 5 or 10 feet taller to be a bit more prominent. I don't know if you looked at it or not, but that's an example of one that's a little undersized.
Well, I guess my concern is about putting something permanently in the regs that just says tower, because what's to stop somebody from saying they want a 20-foot by 20-foot
Sure.
tower, then they're really adding on a floor. It's not this decorative tower like you're trying to do here. So that's my That's my question.
Certainly. Well, that's up to you to control for. You understand what my objective is. If I can't get it, fine.
So we should also just be perfectly clear that this is a regulation change. This is not site-specific to any specific
I
site.
agree. Yes, that's the question. That's the hesitation.
So moving on, you had asked at the last meeting to do a test pit. You're afraid of ledge on the property.
I'm,
That's,
Yeah,
we're not site-specific at the moment.
Oh,
This is just about the regulations.
okay. So do I have an opportunity to answer the request of last meeting, or stick to the program?
The hearing that's being held right now is strictly on the revision to the regulation two.
Okay.
Regarding including residential uses in the general business district and amending and adding those exemptions.
All right.
and as proposed, there would be absolutely no height limitation on the exceptions, meaning the towers and so on and so forth.
They'd be exempt.
Excuse me?
They would be exempt.
Exactly,
from height
and no, so
restrictions.
there would not be even any height limitation on those. So if somebody wanted to do a 50-foot tower, it would be perfectly okay.
as long as they call it a tower.
As long, that's, okay.
Unless it was stated with the approval of TD&Z.
Right, right.
So
And
you
the
get
other,
last look.
Right, and the other, well, let's go back to the height for 1 second. I'm
Yeah.
gonna assume, that this is okay, I don't have any problem with this, the height of the building shall be measured from the mean level of the ground, above the ground. I know that's not technically what we're talking about tonight, but it's in yellow, which makes me think it will be something that we've considered tonight.
It's
So
divided.
I'm not really worried about the midpoint, that's the better way to do it in general. Because this is in our regs, it says maximum heights that we're allowed to go anyway. So the maximum height would be to the middle of the road. The tower is kind of a problem, and I mean, if you go down the list, all these things kind of have their own inherent cap on them, so to speak. Chimney, you're supposed to be so many feet above the ridge, that's it. No one's building a chimney taller than that. A spire, that's kind of interesting, but
Yeah, what is this?
it's I was hoping it could be called a tower, but it's a tapering, conical, or pyramidal structure. So it's not a tower. And elevator penthouses, no one's going to build that higher than what the elevator company tells you to build anyway. Tanks, almost sounds like I'm in New York and they're putting water tanks up on the roof, so that kind of concerns me a little bit. And then similar projections, that means anything that you haven't covered already. We'll just call it a similar projection. Yeah. Okay, so I'm a little hesitant about the tower, just like tower, and I'm also a little hesitant about the tanks, but I agree AC units, but AC unit is pretty minimal in size, and that just goes in the same category. The other things that there's, obviously it's not going to be any higher than the X. Yeah. What? Okay. All right. Is there anybody here to speak in favor of the regulation?
Well, I think he needs to talk about the use of residential uses, so he needs to finish this presentation. I don't think he's had
I wasn't necessarily worried. I wasn't. I have to tell you, I'm a little hesitant to. I think we really need more information. as a commission to vote on this, to be honest with you. Not from
You can
him.
continue the hearing, but
Yeah, no.
I don't think he's had a chance to present on the addition of residential uses.
Okay.
And that's the main component, more than anything,
That's
of
why
what
I'm
he's
here.
proposing.
So if I can I?
Yes.
Yeah.
You may.
Thank you. So I have 3 or 4 representative letters of support, and I'll read short excerpts from each.
Actually, we have copies.
From Chris Dickerson,
We have one from Dickerson,
okay,
one from Peter Parente.
okay,
And then we also note for the record that we have the comments from the South Central Regional
Right.
Planning Commission
Right.
that found that there was no
Right. So are there additional ones?
yes.
Okay.
So this is from OP Incorporated, which is Bruce Schaefer's corporation. I'll read a brief excerpt. To the Chairman of Zoning, Mr. Kaufman, I am a property owner with a significant investment in the Woodbridge Business District. I support the proposed zone change to allow residential uses in the GB district. He says new residents will support area businesses, which will help tax-paying business owners. Residents will add to the vitality and safety of the district, which makes the area a more attractive place to do business. I also believe the addition of residential uses will boost property values and encourage redevelopment of existing buildings. I live in Woodbridge. Property taxes are high. New development will add to the tax base and reduce the property tax burden. Lastly, I feel the town of Woodbridge should do its part to encourage quality development in the business district. I urge you to grant this proposed zone change. So that was from Bruce Schaefer. The last thing, and I could have gotten a great number, there's no point to it. These are the 3 letters with the statement from the Economic Development Commission is a good representative sample. The Economic Development Commission on Thursday, September 14th, met and considered my request. I had presented to them the 3 concepts in June. Jody Allant motioned for a vote of the EDC to provide a letter of support for the condominium development at 18 Hazel Terrace. She also asked that a trailhead be considered or be put in place, which is something that I said I would agree to work with the trail master to do. All members voting were in favor, and here is the letter in greater detail from Jody.
Yeah. So this part of the request, I think, is good from the commissions. I think for the commission, because this is pretty much what we're talking about doing now anyway, is bringing residential into the area down in that area that we've been studying with Leslie all along. So this just goes along with our POCD and our using mixed use, and so therefore bringing residential in there and everything like that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments about this. Or
Agreed with what you just said.
on that. So that's just a good thing. Maybe other things down the road, but that part we agree with, I would think.
Good.
All right, so
Should I address your question about the ledge? I did the test pit witnessed by Terry Gilbertson on Friday, 10 feet down on the high side, which is footing level, and here's the sample. Terry said to bring the dirt sample. Sharp gravel, so it was easy digging.
well, let me see. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding.
So we answered your question.
For the record, could I have a copy of the statement from Bruce Schaefer, because we didn't have a copy of that in the
Yes.
records. And I also don't have a copy of the item that you mentioned from the Economic Development Commission.
So does he also come back to us with a site plan review, or?
The first thing that has to to be done is you have to
I
adopt
understand.
regulations.
I understand that part.
And then he needs to submit an application to you
Right.
under any of regulations that you might adopt.
Which is when we can have all these other discussions
When
about
you
as
can have
far
all
as
the other
the.
discussion.
So you have to bring the dirt back another time.
Yes, will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the commission to Mr. Urbano? Okay, is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the application? Sir?
I just want to introduce myself. I'm Jeremy Rosner. I'm a member of the Economic Development Commission, but during the vote for the approval of this project, I abstained myself from voting on it. I'm also a realtor with Levy Miller Moret, so I have a little bit of a business interest in the project. But as a town resident and a son of folks who are getting older in age, I feel that allowing a small development like this in the business district will add a number of things. Vitality to the business district in terms of people that can go and frequent the stores, the restaurants, everything that we have downtown, which is what we're trying to develop in downtown Woodbridge. And I also think it gives an opportunity for an alternative housing for those who are empty nesters and want to stay in our awesome town, but they have nowhere to go. The housing stock in Woodbridge, unfortunately, you're looking at big houses, cost a lot to heat, have many bedrooms. Most of them are 2,500 square feet plus. And I think having a condominium alternative, an upper end condominium alternative, would be a plus for the town. It'd be enable us to retain some of our community and also build the tax base. Just give us an extra, if you put another 8 units downtown and they're getting, I don't know, maybe there's $8,000 per unit in taxes, you're adding $65,000 to the tax base. It's not a ton of money, but it's money to help build the infrastructure downtown and what we're trying to do.
We're going to try to get the maximum money out of Mr. Urbano. Just for the record. But could you sign in, please?
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Jim, I need you to sign in too.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to the application? Oh. You will not have to be working it off when we get.
Is it okay if we come together?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Forget we'll talk one at a time.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just going to pull up that chair if that's okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. So we're
Give me his.
Ona and Lynette Alpert from Alpert Realty. I think you guys probably know us, but anyway,
Yeah.
nice to see you all again. We did meet with Mr. Urbano, and he was nice enough to share his ideas with us. We met with him actually a couple times. His first initial idea was perhaps something medical, but in the commercial line, we were for that. When he mentioned condos and residential, we were fairly upfront with him, and we said that that was not really what we were interested in seeing on the street.
Just doesn't fit.
On Hazel Terrace,
Yeah.
we feel it does not fit at all, residential. So the street really is propped up by the commercial properties that are there. It's really the best part of the street. The residences on the street really don't do anything for it. They kind of bring the street down. And we feel that even if a nice building is built, which we feel Mr. Urbano is certainly going to put out a nice building, it's not going to be necessarily nice and new forever. Who knows if he sells it? Maybe somebody won't maintain it well. It, you know, won't be new forever, and so I don't know that once the petals are off the rose, whether or not it's really going to be an asset. We also feel that the building itself doesn't have a variety of amenities that would attract upscale buyers. So we sort of are very skeptical about the fact that there will be upscale buyers buying into a property on Hazel Terrace. Commercial buildings in general are good for the town in a way that residential is not, and certainly if you were to have commercial development in general, so if you were to say, okay, well, let's develop this particular piece of property as a commercial piece of property, you would also have tax dollars, and you would bring in people to the town and add to the vibrancy of the town. Perhaps these would be people who would not be using the school system and not necessarily utilizing the resources that Woodbridge has. So it would be a good tax dollar for the city, for the town. And yeah, so in our experience with the residential on the street, it hasn't been very good. We have not, I know that the residential people on the street do not like the commercial buildings and the commercial activity. They feel that their privacy is taken away. They don't like the noise. They don't like the traffic. And commercial buildings have a certain established aesthetic and formality of use, and by their very nature are professional. And so we really do worry about introducing more residential onto the street, because our experience with residential on the street has been that there are appliances left outside for a very long time. There are car tires on front lawns. We've had cockfighting, alcoholics fighting, dogs tied up and left barking outside their house, people who abuse their dogs, people who walk to their mailbox in their bathrobes, and finally, people who get out of their hot tubs naked.
So we've had a lot of experience.
We've had a lot of experience
residential.
with residential. We can foresee ratty sofas pulled outside, you know, laundry on clothes hangers drying on balconies, kids' toys everywhere. None of this stuff is really good for business. You know, when you come to a place of business, you don't want to see that. You don't want to have that kind of activity. It's unprofessional. It's not professional.
And it doesn't mean that you're going to get people who are downsizing from these big homes to come into this particular condo situation. It could be people that are coming in with their children. And so you're going to have either maybe some people that are going to be coming in with a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, some people that are going to be driving. And, you know, we just don't feel that it's going to be enough parking for residents of that particular condo situation, guests, and if they have children with cars, or if they have children that go to school buses coming up to the road. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider. It's not just going to be people downsizing or people who are 55 and under.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, go ahead, honey.
So, I mean, really, that's pretty much what we are talking about. Maybe residential works in another area. We're talking specifically about this lot, and on Hazel Terrace, it really doesn't work. we just are very concerned about what that would introduce onto the street. Again, I mean, you know, now you've got the potential for transients with Airbnb. I mean, you could have all kinds of people renting. You could just really introduce perhaps something that's not really good for us on the street.
So we don't want that change to be made from for general business to, what is it,
To residential.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if that means that this will be a residential project moving forward on the
Right.
street.
okay, thank you.
I don't know, thank you.
Thanks.
Did you take pictures?
Do you want to see a picture?
No,
Wait,
no, I just wanna know. Wanna know what you guys do over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else that would speak in opposition to the application? All right. I am gonna leave it open, do I? But I don't have to do that now. I'm gonna do it now. Okay, I think we should, I would like to leave this open because I think we need to do a little more research on what a tower is, kind of thing. And I would also like to possibly put Leslie on the spot when she comes up and does her paid job, to possibly get her input on putting residential in the general business district. If that would be okay with everyone.
Anything that you're gonna consider as part of the application needs to be done in the course of the public hearing. You can't consider anything that's held or discussed outside of this hearing. So if you would want some input from Leslie, you should have her input in the course of the hearing.
That's why he's saying maybe we don't close the public hearing.
Oh, it sounded like he was gonna discuss it
No,
later in the
no,
meeting.
it was,
Okay,
we just don't close the public hearing now.
Right.
but I'm just saying, any discussion that you
Yeah.
have with Leslie should be in your hearing continuation and not at some other point within this meeting.
Yeah.
So now,
No, I think we're gonna leave the hearing open. We're not gonna have a meeting, we're not gonna put this on the spot literally right now. I'm not gonna talk about it later. When we come back to our next meeting, we'll continue the public hearing. Leslie can answer our question. Does that make sense?
yep, yep.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yes.
All right. So the hearing's gonna stay open, we'll continue until probably next month. Okay, the next item on our agenda for a public hearing is Vision Designs, 1660 Litchfield Turnpike, application for the relocation of a freestanding drive-through signs for Starbucks. Is there some, oh, there you go.
Yep. No, that's for me. Basically, oh, sorry.
And signing, please.
Basically, I own the sign company that wants to move the signs for the DOT. They're widening, I guess, the road over there. So the sign that's presently there has to be moved back, I think, 8 or 10 feet. And I guess there was no permit that was applied for when the sign was initially done. So I'm basically here because we got to move the sign back for the DOT, and just looking for the approval for that.
So it's the same sign, that's just being moved further away from the road?
Yes, exactly, because they're widening the road.
You have the permission of the landlord to do this?
Yes, yes.
So there was no permit on the one that's up there now, didn't get a permit?
Correct.
It was before
I wonder why
the,
this-
Before we redid the sign.
yes, it's before the sign.
All right. Any questions?
Makes sense.
I'm the easy
No
one.
choice in-
I know,
You have no
I'm
choice
open.
in that, you have to move it.
Yes,
We're
exactly.
thinking it an easy one too. Okay, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Grimaldi's Pizza.
Anybody want that?
Good to see you again.
How are you? Actually, I have these sidekicks. They're doing a pretty good job. But I just need to make sure, is there anybody that would like to speak in favor or opposed to moving the Starbucks drive-in sign? Okay. I made the right assumption. But anyway.
Correct assumption.
Now
Yeah,
you should close the hearing.
and we're gonna close the hearing. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is Grimaldi's Pizza, 1660 Litchfield Turnpike.
We're not on 1660, we're at 1646. It shows that in our letter here. I don't know why it's 1660 on your sheet.
It's also known as 1660.
All right.
Just saying. I'm still in South Africa at times.
So, once again, good to see you. We appreciate the sign that you gave us.
Okay, so before you start,
Yep.
I just need to finish. It's an application to amend the restaurant permit to include specific types of entertainment.
Okay, so, I'm Paul Pasella, I'm with Mr. Santori, he's a managing partner there. And we're applying to get an exemption to put entertainment at Grimaldi's. We haven't done any yet, and we're trying to grow the business a little bit. You know, I sent out a mailing to the high school, we're trying to get more clubs to do fundraisers there. We're trying to get more family functions there. We're trying to get more parties there. Basically, we're trying to get more business there. Things have been a lot better, and things are moving forward. And we just want to ask permission before we do anything and bring in a disc jockey or, you know, we're looking for a disc jockey, acoustics, karaoke, live bands, comedians, magicians. And like I said, we want to attract more family functions. We want to do more community events, and I'd like to do more things with the high school on a fundraising basis. We are in that business area, so I mean, it's not, I don't think it's, we're not going to be crazy noisy, but we just want permission to do it.
Yeah, right.
So,
This is only inside, it's not outside. You don't have an outside area anymore.
no, not that we can use, no. We checked with, we got a letter from the landlord, we got permission from Steve Levy, I guess, Levy Moretz. And that's about it. Things are good, like I said.
Hours that you intend to have the entertainment?
Right now, it's hard to tell. I mean, we're not a late-night business. We're, you know, it's not a late-night area. I think we would like to go a little later on the weekends, to be honest with you, on a Friday or Saturday night. But it's hard to say right now, to be honest with you, because we don't get a lot of late-night traffic there. It's, I mean, as you know, there's really not a lot of late-night business in Woodbridge. Even when I go by social at 11 o'clock or 11:30, everything kind of closes down. So we would like to be open, yes, to be honest, we'd like to be open later, and we'd like to hopefully extend our hours.
What are the hours currently?
I think, what is it, Frank?
We close it between 10 and 11 on Friday and Saturday.
Well, that's when you close, but what's the, Chris, do you know what the hours are
I
currently?
don't have that
They don't-
permit up here. This is an application to amend their restaurant liquor permit. And we haven't actually been dealing with hours lately. Kind of just left that open.
So, I mean, we have a bar, so we'd like to stay open later, to be honest with you. That'll be good for business. But like I said, it just doesn't seem like Woodbridge anymore. It's, you know, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It just doesn't rock and roll that much. It's just,
Well, you haven't been to Larry's house.
nah. Are people getting out of the hot tub? I'm sorry, Larry, I didn't want to go. But anyway, no, so I would say on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday, we would like to stay open later, hopefully. And I guess we can serve what, Chris, the liquor license is?
They came in to have their liquor license signed off, and they had included live entertainment, and that was not anything that you permitted under your other one, because it wasn't a request. And so we told them we can either sign off on it without that, or if you want to ask for that, you need to come and ask.
We just want to do it the right way. We don't want to have any trouble if we have a band or something and somebody says there's...
What's the capacity of the building?
Frank, what is the capacity?
About 100 seats,
And the bar, what was that, including the bar?
including the bar.
Yeah.
So it's about Because I'm sure the fire department has a maximum limit on the number of.
But we haven't posted yet. I think it's 140 with the bar, I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not, you know what kind of place it is.
Yeah.
So we are looking to do, the holidays are coming up, people may want bands. We appreciate the tax department had a party there, and your tax office came down, so.
Okay.
So it's possible that this entertainment would be during the afternoon when the other businesses are open?
Highly unlikely that we would be having, unless it was maybe on a Saturday or we're having a birthday party on something, but I don't foresee us having a live band at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, these events we would probably try to limit, especially the fundraisers, we're trying to limit after school from about 5 to 9. And what we try to do is have them come in and we donate a percentage of what the club may spend. They do it with the drama club because they're big at raising money. My son was big in the theater here. So, you know, if they come in between a certain hour, we ring them in, we open the ticket for the drama club, and whatever we sell, we donate back money. So they may want a disc jockey there. They may want to do, we're trying to do parties where they sell a certain number of tickets and we discount them, and, you know, we have a pizza party. We may want a disc jockey there for that. Just trying to have some fun. Hopefully around the holidays we can get some. That's the element we're kind of missing there, is to get, we want to get more event driven.
Is this just Friday and Saturday, or is it every day of the week?
I can't say, no, it would, if we were having a party, say for, I don't know, one of the fire departments or something, and they want to have it on a Monday or Tuesday night, we would probably do it then. I'm saying most likely the entertainment, of course, is going to go more towards the weekends, but I couldn't say to you absolutely just Friday and Saturday night. But definitely Friday and Saturday night would be something we would want to do.
Any other questions from the commission?
No.
All right,
Okay.
cool, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I almost took your sign-up sheet again. So.
The problem is the pen, don't take the pen.
No, I brought my own this time because Christine scolded me, so. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to the application? Okay, so we'll close the hearing. The next item on the agenda is Christina Hullard, 48 Center Road, application for a special permit for a farm stand.
Her husband is here.
Hi there.
Is the little one born?
Yes, yeah, my wife just delivered, so she's at home.
So you're not Christina necessarily?
No, I'm Oliver.
Congratulations.
A boy or
Thank you so
girl?
much. It was a girl. A surprise, too.
I'm still paying. You know it. So what's going to be sold at the farm stand?
So we are currently growing vegetables, and the hope is to eventually introduce some flowers to production. So the idea being that we sell vegetables and flowers.
And where is that stuff grown? On your property?
On property, yeah. We just moved in July, so our production will be, our first real season will be next year. We do have a field in production now. There should be a map in the application that I sent. Oh, sorry.
It was submitted last month, so if you don't have last month's packet.
Sorry, I forgot to bring cards. So it is. No, it's fine. So there's the driveway is a circular driveway, and so it's off to the, as you turn into the driveway, it would be on the right-hand side, alongside the fence on the side of that property.
Also said that there are existing run-in sheds that were used for the horses that were there, and you were going to utilize one of the existing.
Yes, that is correct.
Sheds that were there.
So yeah, and we submitted pictures of the shed, which is, it's actually very well designed for a farm stand, And it keeps with the Yankee thrift of the property itself.
Oh, you just bought this house?
That is correct. We did just buy that house.
I know where you are. And, yeah. So let's go back to Kathleen's question about where you're planning on putting the stand.
Okay, so the driveway is it's a gravel driveway, and there's approximately, or sort of like I think it's about 50-foot section that's straight before it veers into the circular component. And so it would be on the right, as you turn in, it's on the right-hand side, set back approximately 40 feet from the center road. The shed is approximately 20 feet long, and we would have adequate parking in the gravel parking lot, as demonstrated on the map that was submitted last week. Based on the requirements per linear foot of the farm stand, I believe it's 1 parking spot for every 5 linear feet. And so there's adequate parking within the circular drive. It would make it easy for people to get in and out without having to sort of back out.
And is your field along Center Road?
We have 2 fields along Center Road. That field in particular is along Center Road, yes.
Okay, so can you see this?
Yes.
Oh, good.
So it is.
Here's your house.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the field on Center Road.
And that is the field that the farm stand would be next to the driveway.
Okay, but this isn't yours.
That is, our property line extends to that point, and then there's a fence line where it ends, and then we lease.
Along right here?
Yep, we own that as well.
So you own this?
Yep. And it goes, actually, the property is pretty square, and so there's a fence line further to the south of that, at which we actually lease the land south of that from the town.
So you're like down here?
That is correct. That's not where the farm stand will be.
No, I know.
So, yeah.
What, you're leasing this part.
No, we own that.
They own the whole strip from
It's 6
all the way
point-
across here.
up.
Yes.
Like this.
Correct.
Okay, and then this over here is what you're leasing from the town?
Yes.
161 piece, I believe.
Yes, there's
Yeah.
They lease.
in potentially 52. I think there are 2
Yeah, I know.
parcels.
Okay. I know where it is. Okay, cool.
161 is the separate parcel.
Oh, sorry.
52 is the large parcel that has the soccer fields and the play area on it.
Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions? How big is the stand gonna be? Is it gonna be like, do we have a size for this thing?
Yes, so there were photographs and a sort of diagram of the stand itself. So it's currently a run-in shed that was used by the previous owners for horses. We don't have horses, so we'd like to repurpose it for the use as a farm stand. It fits with the aesthetic of the farm. It's already an existing building on the farm, and it can be easily moved with a tractor on some sleds. So it's approximately 20 feet long, and I believe it's 25 feet long by
10.
10. Yeah, you have the dimensions right there.
Just helping out here.
Thank you.
I know you haven't gotten much sleep.
Trying.
This shed was actually once located on the Frechette property on Racebrook Road.
Oh.
And then it got reutilized and moved down to be used for the horses. Prior owners had horses at the site. So it's a New England tradition to move barns and sheds around and repurpose them.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Is that just a map or that's the picture of the shed?
Just a map, just a map.
I can probably.
Is this the building right here?
Yes.
The one to the left of the circle or the one at the end of the circle that they're parking? Yeah, okay, that's.
It would be moved, I think it's about 110 feet, or maybe less than that. I think it's like a 75-foot move from where it is currently.
And you're gonna move it closer to the road?
Yes.
But it still has to be within setbacks of the road.
Farm stands are not. That's why he's coming to you
That's the
for a
question.
special permit, because if he just wanted to put it within,
He doesn't need permission to just have a farm stand?
he still needs permission for a farm stand.
There you go.
But historically, farm stands have been allowed because they're a farm stand closer than the setback, which in this particular case, because it's a state highway, is 125 feet back from the center line of the road.
So you're telling me you could put it right up to the street?
He's He's asking for a specific location that's shown on the map that he's given.
That's what I'm missing.
It's right there. To the right of the straight part.
How many months a year would this operate?
So just in the growing season. So at this point, that would extend probably from May until November.
Okay, I get it. Perpendicular to the center road. All right, I'll stop asking questions.
No, I'm pleased.
Any signage of this?
So at this point, we will, we're still working with a designer to help design the logo for our farm, but we will comply with all the Woodbridge sign laws. That is not part of anything that we're presenting today.
Will it be organic?
The organic process is one that takes a while.
Sustainable?
Yes, sustainable, and we are working with the Department of Ag. We've had Kip Kolsinkas out to come test our soils, and so we will hopefully be pursuing either organic certification or something approaching that. My wife ran a small organic farm for 2 years in Maryland, so she brings with her a wealth of experience.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? All right, very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody here that would like to speak in opposition to the application? Good group. Okay. And now we're closing it. Number 5, Happy Homes Pet Behavior Training, LLC, 131 Bradley Road. Application for a change of use for portion of the property to a dog daycare, training, and boarding facility. So, are you the guys that were going to do something on the...
Yeah.
I am really happy to see this application.
In a different spot.
In a different spot.
I thought you would be.
All right. Much better spot.
I'll do this. So I'm Dr. Tracy Johnson. I'm a veterinarian in Bethany. I'm also a certified dog trainer. This is my partner, Kristen Iannucci. She's a certified veterinary technician. This daycare is something that both of us have wanted to do for a long time. And Jeremy can attest to this because we bugged him for a while for some properties looking for us. So this came available. We jumped at the chance for it. It's at 131 Bradley, which is right next to the animal shelter. We're taking, I think it's the east side, the bottom half towards the east of that building. It's about 2,800 square feet. We would have.
It's on the left-hand side of the street or across?
If you're looking at the building, it's on the right.
If you're looking at the animal shelter.
So it's on the left, to the left, yeah, to the left, because right is
That's what I
the
thought.
It's a right
West Rock.
building,
Right.
left of the animal.
Yes. So we will have what we would say would be typical daycare training hours from 7 to 9. The dogs would be leaving the daycare portion between 5 and 6:30. Those extra hours would be for group classes or private lessons, as we deem that we need them for whatever classes, whether it's puppy classes or some reactive dog classes, those type of things. We would have 20, another thing we want to do is puppy day school. So the puppies, these are young dogs coming in with us to stay for the day as daycare, but more so for training. We believe socialization is a huge thing that dogs don't get a lot of, and that critical time period between 8 and 16 weeks, a lot of clients either are working, have kids, they're just really busy. We want to provide that as a service for them to bring their dogs. Let us do the hard part, and you can go home and play with them. And just so that they become a better member of their household and a better member of society. So that's one of the things we want. We would have 10 dogs maximum at the time for that, and we would have, I think we put 20 dogs maximum for the daycare at this point. We haven't been able to get in there and really get a good idea of, and we know how big it is, but to get in there and get a visual of what we want. To divide it up and stuff, but we would have movable dividers inside. We would also have a fenced-in area to, if you're looking at the building to the right, because that's where we are, it's about 40 by 80 feet. We have a chain link fence. It's going to be dirt and pea gravel on top of that, so that anything can soak down. We can wash it, urine and stuff soaks down. Dog poop we would scoop up and put in plastic bags and dispose of in the garbage can, as what QVHD said that was.
And how many dogs are you anticipating being able,
Right now,
just dogs or dogs and cats?
No cats, just dogs. So probably total right now, depending on the puppies, I think we put in there, I don't think we put little dogs in there. Yeah, so day school is 10, and the daycare right now would be 20. Our classes, we would keep to 6 dogs. We just can't, one person can't handle more than 6 dogs. So the dogs would be outside. We would rotate them out during the day, depending on the weather, how things are going. They may be out there half hour, probably not more than an hour. Our goal with this too is to have, they're coming to us for play, but we also want to work with them. We need them to be well-behaved dogs staying with us, because if they're rambunctious, that's not good for us, that's not good for the other dogs. So even outside, we would reinforce positively quiet behavior. If a truck goes by, because I know Mr. Luciani has the trucking company or the asphalt company, truck goes by, you're quiet, we're going to give you some treats. So all that's doing is just saying, hey, scary things, loud things, now start to predict good things. So this will carry over to the owners when they go home. They're out walking the dog on a street, a truck goes by, the dog's like, oh, okay, I don't have to bark and react. So our goal is to keep the dogs, from being over barky, over reactive. There's going to be barking. I mean, they're dogs. It's just going to happen. But our goal is to keep that to a minimum.
Will each dog have a run?
No, it's an open, fenced-in area. We'd have a 6-foot fence.
There won't be individual things as well as that.
No.
But you might have as many as 30 dogs in a single open.
They wouldn't all be out at the same time, because we would divide them by. So we'd have the puppies in one group. We'd have the bigger dogs divided by play style. So if there's some that are just really calm and want to hang out, they would be together. The more rambunctious ones would be separate, and then we would take those out on their own. So you might only have 5 to 10 dogs out at a time, depending on the population that's there that day. There could be a population of 2 calm dogs and 15 rambunctious dogs. But we're also going to have staff there to monitor. So we would divide that up for that as well. So the dogs would not ever be out by themselves. They would always be supervised. The fence, we would certainly make sure that the bottom is secure so they can't dig out. And if we're out there supervising, we shouldn't have to worry about that anyway.
The description here says boarding facility as well?
Yeah, we would like to do some boarding inside. Just because it's not a big facility, we wouldn't have a lot of dogs there.
What is the boarding capacity, do you think?
Looking at it, maybe 10 to 15 dogs, so small. And if we did have the boarding there, we would have somebody stay overnight with the dogs so they could let them out, at the normal time that they would at home, maybe 10 o'clock. That person is there cleaning overnight, doing the heavy-duty cleaning. They let them out 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then we get there at 7 to start accepting dogs in and stuff. So
is that 10 to 15 in addition to the 20 daycare, in addition to the 10 puppy care?
Maybe, no, if they're overnight, then they're gonna have to be part of the daycare population.
Okay.
If they're not part of the day, yeah, because if they're staying overnight, they're gonna have to be there for the day, so yeah.
I just wanted to make
Yeah, no, that's right, that's fine.
Is there a license required for the operations that you?
There is one for training, there is one for kennel, and I'm not sure which one we would fall under, because we're not really like a kennel, but we do have the training. So once it gets approved, then we go to the state to get that license.
The training would be which days of the week?
It could possibly be every day.
7 days a week.
7 days a week. The weekends would be, Sundays would be more for private lessons. We just have to have, something for ourselves, a life to ourselves. So the private would be that. Sometimes even the privates, I don't even do at a facility. I go to the owner's house. So I would be the one doing most of the training, the private training. So we might not even be open. Obviously, if there's boarding, the dogs would be there and somebody would be in and out, and we would have set pickup times, probably a couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the afternoon.
questions from the commission? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of the application?
I would. I can talk from here?
No.
You should know.
Good try.
Don't even think about it.
I'll sign in too. I remember that part.
And do not take the sign.
No,
Or
ma'am.
the pen.
Or the
Bad habits, hard to break. Thank you. Okay, hi, everybody. My name is Michelle McCallion. I'm not a resident here of Woodbridge, but my 7 dogs are patients of Dr. Tracy Johnson. And I'm talking in favor of this to the fact that I've struggled being a pet owner of 4 rescues that have been rambunctious, had behavioral problems, to find a place that's safe, off the road, on a beaten track, where the dogs are going to be highly supervised, most importantly, owned by a vet. I have 3 dogs that have problems medically, one that's in heart failure, of which I don't know what to do with her. I had to go to a funeral out of state. And I know Tracy personally, as well as professionally, and she's been there to help to take care of my dogs, but where would I take them if there's no place to board them? There was a horror story about a month ago that a dog escaped from a local doggy daycare in Milford that was closer to the highway. The dog unfortunately succumbed to its injuries on the highway. They found its remains. I don't know what happened there, but I know personally, under the supervision of someone who's trained in behavior as well as veterinarian, that the dog would have better chances of being taken care of well, and knowing of their needs and their diets. I just think that that's a win-win for the community, for people who are working here in Woodbridge. I was a business owner, and I had patients come in who had animals that were basically looking for places to bring their pets that were safe and they would be cared for because of their special needs. And at that point, being that part of the community, I didn't know of many places where they can go. Here now, being this community and where this center is going to be, it's centrally located, that people both in Bethany and Woodbridge on their way going to work could have their dogs dropped off and basically safe and cared for like a babysitter. And I guess really that's about it.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody here to speak in opposition to the application? All right. Close the hearing.
Close the door.
Oh, there you go.
I'm Karen Lombardi. I am one of the animal control officers for the town of Woodbridge. And although I understand the concept of what is being proposed, if you approve of this, you are saying that the shelter dogs will never have a moment's peace. And that's basically the truth. They live a very stressful life at the shelter, not like in a home, with dogs and activity on the other side of our driveway, 7 days a week, until all hours of the day and night. They will never have a moment's peace. I take it very seriously that they get a comfortable place to be at night. If you go down there right now, they're sound asleep. It's all quiet and they're comfortable. It's not going to be that if you accept this next door to us.
How many dogs are in the shelter at any given time?
We have 14 runs.
And typically, how many of those
We've
runs
been
are
full. We've been full since we took on Seymour.
And what distance in terms of approximate number of feet would it be from where the dogs are sheltered in your facility and the proposed operations that we just heard about?
What's the number of feet from our shelter to the other building? It's a driveway. It's a driveway in between. Well, our driveway in there,
It's more than.
but it doesn't matter, they can hear them.
You're right. Here's the animal shelter, here's the road, here's the building that they're going in. So it's this distance from here, and I'm assuming the runs are still gonna be similar in the place that they are now?
Yes.
Okay, so here's their runs, her runs. And this person's runs, I'm not sure, but
Is that on the right side?
the right side, so it's right here. I mean, if her dogs are boarding inside, they're
But they're-
sleeping also.
But they're not going to be. Their hours of operation are from 7 in the morning till 9 at night.
Yeah.
If there's dogs that are boarding, they'll be let out whenever they need to be let out during the night. If we have, for instance, something that goes through our yard at night, because we have trail cams, the dogs, if it's something like a fox that's hanging around, or yelping, or barking, or whatever, coyotes, whatever, they destroy their bedding inside the shelter. It stresses them out. To hear dogs barking, or people even, voices, you'll hear the voices from where they are. It upsets them. It gets them going.
I have a question. How long are there dogs in the shelter? So,
We are-
you know, like a few days or weeks at a time?
We are a no-kill shelter, so
there
however
could be
long it
dogs really
takes.
permanently in residence,
Well-
or weeks and weeks?
Probably a year is about the longest we've gone.
A year?
Mhm.
So people don't come and adopt them? If they don't do that, then they live there?
They stay there. Or we find a rescue, or, there are other avenues, but we are a no-kill shelter. So it's conceivable the dog could be in residence for a period of time. We're very lucky at our shelter, we get to put them outside during the day in good weather. So they're really very happy, much happier than other shelters. And we pride ourselves on that.
So you feel the shelter dogs will be upset by the
Abs-
dogs next door, and
absolutely.
there'll be fights between them? So will there be
No,
barking back and forth? Or
There
no?
probably will be barking, not fights, but probably barking
No.
back and forth, yeah.
Is your objection only the boarding part of it, or the rest of it?
My objection is to the hours and the fact that there will be dogs that will upset our dogs, which in turn makes them less adoptable because they're more keyed up. They don't get that calmness that they have. People come to adopt dogs, there's dogs barking on either side of the building, they leave. People come to us now because our shelter's nice and quiet. They're more likely to adopt from us than they are to one of the bigger shelters where there's a lot of cacophony and barking. And quite frankly, the noise that goes on from the other operation on the other side of us is pretty horrific also. However, we will now be sandwiched in between two very loud operations, potentially loud operations. And for that reason, I think the location is a problem.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Lynn Donato, volunteer, oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Lynn Donato, volunteer at the Animal Control Center for 10 years. Exactly what Karen has said, I'm just going to reinforce. Being a volunteer, I see these little creatures come in, big and small. Let me just put it one way. I don't mind pet training facility in our town. But right next door to where our shelter is not the best place for it. The reasons Karen quoted were very good. When I take dogs for walks, I'm trying to get these anxious little dogs to calm down, and we have beautiful roads that we go through, quiet, and we have playful socialization skills, and then we come back and treats, and then we go into our little beds. The difference between the animals that are going to go to the pet training and our place, the shelter. The pets that are at the training are loved and they're owned. They have moms and dads, probably have little siblings, puppies at home, children that play with them. They come from a secure place. They go home to a secure place. Our little guys have been abandoned. They were happy today. Tomorrow, they want to know what happened. Where did my mom go? Where did my dad go? How come I'm all alone? That creates anxiety. It creates stress. And it's bad enough that we have to deal with it without any of this extra chaos around us. So I'm here for the animals. I want to see what's best for our animals. And I don't think that this pet training center is really good for them at this point in time, or any point in time. Like I said, I don't mind it if it goes into another place in Woodbridge. Like I said, I go in there and I see some sad little puppies. They're frightened, they're afraid of me. It takes time to gain their confidence. And then when we go out for a walk, if they see and hear all this other noise and other dogs barking and whatever, and they're going to bark, that's what they do. You know, you can't have them quiet. Dogs bark. This only puts more stress upon them, and it makes more work for us and our officers. So I hope you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
How you doing?
Ashley Saklarikis. I am the other animal control officer in Woodbridge. I would like to say that before becoming an animal control officer, I worked for a short time in a doggy daycare facility. They also did boarding. I know firsthand that 20 dogs is just not happening. We averaged probably 50 dogs at the facility I worked at. There was probably 3 girls on the floor handling all these dogs. The dog bites that would happen increases with daycare facilities. The boarding thing is if a dog wakes up at the night, they go out. Doesn't matter what time it was. They would go out and it's like a mini playtime. So with that being said, having this right next to a shelter would just cause stress on our animals. I take pride in my work. I take pride in Woodbridge Animal Control. I love our shelter. It's nothing like any other shelter in the state, I think. It's nice. They're outside in the daytime, and you'll come and they'll just be lounging and sunbathing. 3:30 rolls around. We bring them in for dinner. By 4 o'clock, they're in, they're fed, they're sleeping.
By what time?
4 o'clock. We get called out all hours of the night. We can go there 2 o'clock in the morning. The occasional dog will just wake up and bark because they hear the gate. But it's nice because 2 o'clock they're sleeping. Putting a facility next door to our animals, it's going to harm them. They get kennel stressed. They're going to hear other dogs barking and they're not going to really, know where they're coming from, and it's just going to cause stress in them. They'll destroy their beds more often, just like Karen stated, when animals come through our yard. And they'll become more like unadoptable because they're going to be so high strung. And I just think it's not fair to the animals we take in. They're already stressed from losing their homes, from being abandoned, from being neglected and abused. We're trying our hardest to rehabilitate them and to make them, your next adoptable pet. And by putting that next door, it's going to set everything back, and it's going to set them back. It really is.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would speak in opposition to the application? No.
Oh, I would also like to say, the,
The diseases that come through daycares and boarding facilities will also affect our shelter and put a cost on the town for getting kennel cough or whatever comes through there. So
It's quite a distance away, I'm not sure.
kennel cough is airborne. And you do see it in daycare facilities. We always had one dog with kennel cough. So
Aren't there vaccinations? People have to
Yes.
get kennel cough shots and things like that before you can go in there? Okay, just checking. Hi.
I'm Nicole Minervini. I'll sign here first.
Please.
Okay. I'm Nicole Minervini. I'm an animal control officer with New Haven. I've been to Woodbridge Animal Control Facility on a few occasions, and I've never seen a shelter that was so relaxed. Their animals there are by far stress-free at the moment. To the point where we've had dogs in our facility. As you could imagine, in New Haven, it's very stressful. We have a larger facility, and some of the dogs seemed unadoptable because of the stress level in our facility. We've had transferred to Woodbridge, and these young ladies here have made those dogs into adoptable dogs because of the facility being so stress-free. I think because of the close proximity, it's not a good idea to put a boarding facility right there next to the shelter. I think it will cause a lot of chaos and stress for their animals, which is unfair. Furthermore, like Ashley was saying about communicable disease, it does run through boarding and training facilities regardless of vaccines. I was a vet tech prior to being an animal control officer, and I've seen firsthand animals come through my facility who have caught kennel cough and all kinds of...
That would be the same problem in the shelter.
But it would be even more so if you put one kennel besides another kennel.
Because you're adding more animals.
I just think it's not a great idea.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Laura Torrance.
I've been a volunteer at the shelter for about 7 years, and there's no question that Dr. Johnson would do her best to run an excellent facility. She's a wonderful vet. My issue, and I've hoped for years that there would be a nice kennel to put my dogs in. The problem for me is the change of use. The property owner is on the other side of us and has a property before the property that is in question. If he is allowed to change any sort of use at the property, as we can see, if any of you would like to take a trip down there to see what has happened on one side of us, where there was supposed to be a nice mulch and propane station, and now we live, in spite of their hard work and all of the volunteers that do go there, we are jumping out of our skin because of the slamming of trucks, the dust, the noise, the disturbance, and so the girls and I work extra hard to keep the dogs as calm as we can. Mr. Luciani has never demonstrated that he plays by the rules. If he has the ability to change the use of that building, what's to say that we won't have we'll have 10 dogs, and the next thing we know, if the business grows, which I hope it does for Tracy's sake, because you want businesses to grow and flourish in the town, that we won't have 50 dogs there, all barking with traffic, and the monitoring of that area. I know it's an industrial zone, so it makes sense to everyone here that what's the difference? It's only the animal shelter. Who cares if there's barking and there's all kinds of stuff? But the difference is, as the young woman from New Haven said, we take dogs that are going to be put to sleep and turn them into pets. And it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of stress that goes on with those dogs. I'm not even questioning that they're not going to do their best to keep the dogs quiet, to do whatever. It is a nightmare on that street with the business that's next door to us, that was zoned for something different than it is now. I've read everything, I've gone to every meeting, I've read back to the meetings from 2010, the change, all the things that have happened down there, and now we have a nightmare on one side of us. And on the other side, and you know that, Mr. Kaufman, because you've been there, the noise, we're hoping, we are fixing the shelter, we have gotten a grant, and with further monies that we've applied for, there is no reason why we won't have one of the best facilities in the state. Just like Branford has, and a lot of the other towns that have gotten new facilities, we're going to make it beautiful as well as a wonderful place for the pets. If you change the use of the building on the other side, who knows what else could happen there? If this business didn't succeed, then somebody else could come in there with some sort of a business with animals, whatever. Come down and see what we deal with on the other side and see if you think, and you're saying it's a driveway and there's a lot of space. No, there isn't. Since the building has been taken over already, we've had our shade tree that shaded our animals that were out in the front when we're showing dogs, and we have chickens and other animals that come into the shelter that are discarded. Now we have the beating sun on top of us, the noise of chainsaws, backhoes, you name it, it's going on all around us. And come and see what could be. It's not, it might look like it's far away if you haven't been down there, but it's not far away. And the change of use of that building is going to be a dangerous thing for us, and it's going to really impact the shelter. So I hope you'll really consider what you're going to do there, because the property owner has not kept any of the things that we thought. He's not a good neighbor to us. If anything, it's almost as if it's a joke that we have to listen to the trucks and the noise, the grinding of the stone, and now we're going to have dogs on the other side barking, which is what a dog does. We're not questioning that the dogs, and whether the dogs and the facility itself, who's going to monitor to see how the upkeep is? The state, who doesn't come down and look at anything most of the time anyway. We're going to have pea gravel down on the ground. Is that actually allowed in? Is it sanitary? Are we going to have our building enforcement agent come down and do anything? Because we can't get them to come down and help us, and we're a town facility. So how is there going to be any enforcement of anything that goes on next to us? So please keep that in mind when you're considering this. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maureen, and I've worked in Woodbridge for 16 years and been a friend and a volunteer for animal control. And I hope that you all find it in your hearts, for everything that's been said, for these animals not to let this facility go in. I'm just going to leave that short and sweet and put my 2 cents in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Carrie. I'm an employee at Woodbridge Animal Control. Carrie Paddock. I will. I started at Woodbridge Animal Control as a volunteer, and within a couple of months I became an employee. I work in the office. I also work with the dogs and the public that come in to adopt our animals. I've also worked at a animal daycare. There is no way to control the animals in the daycare from barking, especially when you put large groups of dogs together at once. They're running around a facility, they're barking, they're playing. Part of showing a dog to a potential adopter is to have a connection between that dog and the adopter. It's going to be nearly impossible for people to be able to make a connection when they're being distracted. And they will get distracted when they hear other dogs bark, because it's not going to just be the animals in the daycare barking. They're going to bark, and then the other dogs that are outside are going to bark, and that dog is not going to be able to focus on its potential adopter. And it's a big problem. We don't like to keep the dogs in the facility any longer than necessary. We want them to get out. We want them to go into a home. And I think we pride ourselves on really working with people and finding the right adopters. And it's going to be 10 times harder when we can't get the person and the dog to make that connection because there are multiple distractions.
Isn't the new facility going to have an inside spot for people to meet their dogs, or are you still going to have the dogs meet people outside? I know that right now the facility doesn't have space for that, but
the problem is, hold on, the problem is that just because we show dogs inside the facility and outside the facility. Just because you're, no, but you can still, just because they're inside the facility doesn't mean that they can't hear the dogs barking and playing. And then, like I said, those dogs that are barking and playing are going to make our dogs that are outside bark and play. And that dog in the room being seen is going to hear all of that commotion. So that's where the problem comes.
Can I say something?
Need to come back up.
Not only do they interact.
Just identify yourself.
Oh, sorry. Ashley Saglarikis, one of the animal control officers. Not only do the potential adopters and the animals interact, whether it be outside or inside right now, but 100% of them go for a walk with their animal, their potential animal. And that is on the road. So they're going to see them, they're going to hear them when they're going for that walk. Whereas right now, all we have to deal with is the trucks, and we can make do. We go all the way down to like the soccer field, and they kind of connect on that walk. But getting there, I mean, they're going to have the dogs now. That's going to be like a huge distraction to them, and the traffic that's going to come now with this facility. So, more traffic.
I'm just having a little trouble following all this because dogs bark.
I know.
And there are some facilities, shelters that are on busy roads next to McDonald's. They don't stop putting McDonald's in because there's a shelter there. Dogs bark. And I find it hard to believe that if you're showing a dog and the dogs at the shelter aren't going to be barking when you're walking around, I find that very hard to believe. And I don't see why that's any different than if the people over in the next building, those dogs are barking. I mean, all dogs are going to bark. The dogs in the shelter aren't being quiet because their friend is maybe going to be adopted. It doesn't work that way. They're dogs.
We take the dogs out, and you can come down, and I could take a dog out right now, and I can take you to the picnic table that's in front of our shelter, which is going to be directly next to this facility. People sit on that picnic table and they just bond with their animal. I can't tell you how many adoptions that have been sealed with them just sitting on that picnic table with their animal. And that is not going to be an option now, because they're going to have those dogs barking, and that dog is going to be pulling for those dogs. That's all.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Leanne Russ. I am a Woodbridge resident and also a volunteer at the animal shelter. I've actually volunteered at many animal shelters, and I completely hear what you're saying as far as dogs will bark.
It's okay.
And it's okay. I think the point to drive is that we have to find an area where they can bond. They can have quiet time so that they can bond with the potential owners. So when we might have something that's so close to where the animal shelter is, where is that place that we can go and we can walk them? Because most of the shelters that I have volunteered at that have had the highest success rates are ones that are a little more country, have the walking paths, and are away from heavily populated animals. So if we have like a backyard area where there's a lot of animals that are there, then what's going to happen is when you take the dogs out, the dogs are going to be hyper focused on these other animals and not able to bond. And also too, just knowing that that's all I do is rescue. When I have tried to take my family to the shelters and there's so much barking and there's just that coming from all different areas, my husband turns around and walks right away, right out the door. So I think it is, believe it or not, it is extremely important to have the quietest environment that you can to have the best outcomes. I just can't drive that home enough. Did I just put my address and everything?
Talk to Christine.
Your name.
Just name.
Christine's in charge of that.
Okay, thank you.
We just want to spell your name right.
Really?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here that would speak in opposition to the application? Stacy, I have a question. How many square feet are you guys renting?
About 2,800.
2,800? And when you do,
Let Tracy come back up because we need to record this. We can't do that when she's in the back row.
that's okay, I was calling her Stacy. So it's good.
No, say my name, Tracy Johnson.
Tracy.
Okay.
And so how many square feet? 2,800? So according to square footages, you can't put 30 dogs in there because you need basically about 10 square feet per dog. So I was just kind of curious whether you guys, when you're
Math's not good.
30 dogs
Times 10.
Yeah, it's
300.
Okay, 300. Okay.
And that depends on.
300 dogs would be no good.
Exactly. You're gonna put 300 dogs in there?
Yeah, it depends on the size.
What about
depends on the day,
what?
That depends on the size of the dogs.
Yeah, I know.
Size, day, I mean.
Good thing you got this.
We're all
The measurements.
calculators, engineers. So can you answer any of the questions, the concerns that people are?
Yes, in regards to the diseases, our dogs are going to have requirement for vaccines, including kennel cough. I will leave influenza up to the individual veterinarian because even the kennel cough vaccine and the influenza is not going to protect 100%. So yeah, they have the vaccines, they could come down with it. It's an inherent risk of being in an enclosed area. The animal shelter dogs probably aren't vaccinated. They're coming in with a lot worse things than our dogs would be. In regards to the barking, and their stress of dogs, I understand where they're coming from. And certainly our goal is not to stress out those dogs. I mean, we would love for those dogs to become our clients. And it would be beneficial to both of us, I think, to work together. There are programs out there. I've taken a shelter program to help dogs get less stressed and how to train them, reinforce them for being quiet in the shelter, it can be done. It can be done in a shelter the size of New Haven. It's not hard. With 14 runs, it would be very easy to do. The walking area from the shelter past us is not very long. The chance of our dogs being out there every time a dog would go by is not, they're not out there all the time. So it would be minimal. And that would also give them an opportunity to train the dogs around other dogs out in the environment. Yeah, I would like to sit on the picnic table and bond with my dog, but that's fine and dandy. Now I take it for a walk and it starts reacting. Maybe this wasn't the dog for me. So if they can use that as additional training for these dogs, that's going to be a much better dog for somebody to adopt. Same thing with the trucks that they're worried, they have to deal with on the other side. That's an opportunity to say, hey, scary trucks, you're going to get some reinforcement, positive reinforcement for that loud, scary noise, so that those things aren't scary in the dog's environment, and that's really going to reduce the stress. Dogs that are kept in the shelter obviously are stressed. They're not in the home. There's other dogs, and I understand it's a no-kill shelter, but a dog that's in there for a year needs to get out of there. That's not good health for that dog at all. So I know they try and get them out as fast as they can, and I know they're doing their best by getting dogs from New Haven and other shelters that may not be adopted somewhere. So, like I said, I would like to have a relationship with them to help. If they don't need help them have better dogs, and if they need that extra skill set that they may not have. So, yes, I completely understand where they're coming from, and I don't like to see stressed dogs barking in the shelter either.
Well, when you board dogs, so they go down at night at some point. What time is that?
Probably around 10 o'clock they would go out last time. They would individually go out to go to the bathroom, come in, go to bed. So our employee would be there overnight, doing cleaning, monitoring them, sleeping over, and then in the morning, again, they would get let out individually and they would get fed in the morning.
And then, so I don't know, I'm an uneducated kennel cough, I don't know what this is, but how far can this malady
It's not
travel?
gonna go over to the shelter. It's gonna stay confined into our area, and their diseases are gonna stay in their diseases over there. Now, I can preface it that if they're walking their dogs, our dogs aren't gonna be out there anyway. So if they're walking their dogs and they don't clean up their poop, then there's a concern for intestinal parasites. But they're far enough away. I know they're going to be cleaning up their poop. Our dogs aren't even going to have exposure to that. So that wouldn't be an issue. So I don't think that diseases, transmission are going to be an issue between the two buildings.
Is cough transmitted outside of an enclosed area?
It is. It's environmental, but I mean, we're far enough away that it's not going to transfer over there. Like I said, our dogs are going to be vaccinated. It's a requirement.
Who does oversee the kennels? Is there a state that oversees?
Yeah, there's a state.
That's what I thought. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Nope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Close the hearing.
Yeah.
Yes. We're not going to close it yet.
Please.
Yes.
Mayor?
I stopped him.
I mean, it's up to the chair.
I thought I'd only have to talk once tonight because I'm not very good with public speaking, but I thought it was... Oh, sorry, Nicole Minervini from New Haven. So, I thought it was a very unfair comment that she just made, and I had to come up again when she said that with her dogs, her boarding dogs there, that it'll give the girls at the animal shelter a better advantage so that they could socialize with other dogs. I don't know that if she's ever been to an animal shelter before, but we're very short-staffed as it is, and we don't have all that much time to train. So the reason for the quietness is so that they are calm at the moment and remain that way without any distraction. The little time that we do have to train is valuable. Like I said, we're very short-staffed in all facilities. and I know they are as well. I thought that was a very unfair comment.
Sure.
Tracy Johnson. So my comment was not socialization with your dogs with our dogs. It was, you'll be walking by, that's an opportunity for training. If you're walking them from the shelter to the soccer fields, that is, what is that, a mile, half mile maybe, of training opportunity. So if you're short-staffed, use that opportunity as training to work with your dogs. Teach them how to walk on a leash. Teach them how to deal with distractions that are out there. No offense, I don't want shelter dogs interacting with my dogs because of the potential diseases. So far enough away on the road, that would be totally fine. As a trainer, I would use that as an opportunity to work with a dog that was reactive to other dogs or might bark at another dog and teach it. It's okay, those dogs are fine. So, you know, again, they have there should be some training opportunity if they're walking them. It would be a training opportunity for me for sure.
I've been training dogs for 40 years, okay? We train our dogs, they all know how to walk on leashes. We use whatever tools we need. When we are walking to the field, it is usually with a potential adopter. It is not time for a training session. They get that when we are alone with them. We do work with them, they sit, they lay down, they'll give you your paw, they'll walk on a leash, because that's what we do with our dogs. Just in case anybody thought we're not working with them or training them, we are. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think we thought that.
Okay.
All right.
One more thing to say.
One more thing. Nicole Minervini from New Haven. Now, opposite to what we were saying about the communicable diseases from the boarding kennel to the shelter, this young lady behind me, I forgot her name, Tracy, said that there's more disease and parasites and such in the shelter. Why would you want to put the community's dogs in that position as well? That's all.
Yeah. So we're going to close the hearing now?
That means nobody gets to talk now. Okay? That's what that means.
Are we all ready?
It's over.
Okay.
Except for them.
Yeah. But we're going to change the subject for a little bit. Receipt and appropriate action on applications and 824 referrals received since the September 5th meeting of the commission. Jody Snyder, 9 Blue Trail Drive, application.
I think it's Seidner, not Snyder. It's spelled wrong.
Seidner. Yeah.
Seidner.
I'm just reading the way
I
it's
understand,
spelled,
I'm
okay.
just
Seidner.
on the application.
Yell at me.
I don't care. Application for renewal of a residence office permit.
So she's not here, we're just receiving this, we need to schedule this for a hearing. It's in a timely fashion. We can do this hearing in November.
Yes.
And she regrets that she isn't able to bring you samples.
Oh.
So do we.
Oh, she's got another month.
She still can't bring
They're really good anyway.
Okay, Town of Woodbridge, 100 Center Road. This is a Connecticut General Statute, Section 824, request for a report regarding a proposed dog
Are you
park.
guys here for that? And you're here for the dog park? Yes. Okay, so we have people here to answer any questions that you have regarding the dog park.
Because we weren't sick of talking about dogs yet.
Well, we're never going to be sick of talking about dogs.
Good answer.
That's the right answer. It's true. I could stay on that. So did everybody read their, in their packet about the dog park? The proposed dog park they're asking for? And so they're asking for a dog park in the area on the Fitzgerald property that was fenced off and used. They did a whole chestnut tree experiment that I didn't know till recently failed. But anyway, there's a large fenced-in area that they thought would be an ideal area to put a dog park. And unfortunately, since we changed the rules in town recently, that all dogs have to be on a leash. So all the dogs used to run in the back of the Fitzgerald fields, and now evidently they're not allowed to for some reason. And so they want to be able to use the fenced-in area as a dog park area. So the Board of Selectmen has asked us to say whether we think that this is a good use for this piece of the Fitzgerald property.
Are the trees gone?
Yes.
I don't know, are all of them gone? I don't think all of them.
Most of them.
Yeah, I think most of them have died.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
You need to come up and sign it, because we can't hear you and record you if you're not.
I don't know if they want me to.
Do you want us?
Ashley, come on. I was gonna try to save you all the trouble.
They made this trip to talk to you. So.
Oh, we are so excited to be here. Bonnie Blake and Michelle Ditzian. The land trust had leased that parcel from the town, because it's town-owned property, and they're through with the experiment. So the Board of Selectmen is requiring them to turn it back to the town. Trees or no trees, they're done. And actually, they were in anticipation of that. I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Dr. Arnold recommended that it be converted into a dog park, and he's the one that was running the experiment with the chestnut trees. So whatever might be left, I think at one point they were trying to take the remaining trees and get them adopted. So if any of you would like to adopt a tree.
Do you have to walk a tree?
First you take them on a walk. And don't let them bark. No.
It's a chestnut, so it would actually be a very interesting tree.
Yeah, don't quote me because I'm not the expert, but I saw somewhere on the land trust site was that they were trying to find homes for the remaining trees. So that's it.
Move them?
I think if they had a place to send them, they would. But again, I'm not the expert on that. I found that kind of interesting.
Bring them all over. You don't think so? That's what I'm thinking. Okay. All right, so our main purpose is to say whether we think it's a good location for a dog park. Good use of that spot for a dog park.
Or if it's acceptable as a location. That's it, you got it. That's the
So
word.
does anybody have any questions about this? Because this is probably, we're going to do this first in the work session.
So as a regular walker on the Fitzgerald property, I have been attacked twice by dogs on leashes. So I was wondering what the liability is for the town for dog on dog.
Let's be clarification. You were attacked by dogs that were already on leashes?
I've been attacked by 2 dogs on leashes.
So they shouldn't have even made that rule, I know.
We have a lot of experts about dogs in this room, many more expert than we. But what we have found is that our dogs behave less appropriately on a leash than they do off a leash. They yank, and they have been trained to walk on a leash, but when they get excited, they feel that they're...
Dogs in a dog park, they're going to have fights and they're going to...
No, they don't.
No. Well, what happens when they're off leash?
Wait a minute, one at a time.
Is that they work it out, and certainly.
I just want to know what the town's liability is for the town-sponsored dog park for dog fights or people.
I don't think it's for us to answer the question about liability. That's for the town. We're just
That's exactly right. I think that we should get.
All right, so
no, we're supposed to respond as
before we decide that it's an appropriate use. We should know what the liability.
Well, can I just speak to one thing? The state of Connecticut is a strict liability state. And if you read the statute, it says clearly that
no matter where your dog is, town property or not, your house, my house, down the street, the owner is responsible for any damage and injury caused by it. Now, at the Board of Selectmen meeting, Jerry Weiner brought up the subject of, well, what happens if the owner's insurance is not sufficient and someone sues the town? Well, as we all know, people can sue anyone at any time. You can't stop people from suing. But according to Connecticut state law, the town is not liable. But I'm not an attorney, so I'm just giving you that.
The dog owner is liable regardless of whether the dog owner could predict the behavior or not.
Yeah, that's called a strict liability, so we're very strict. But you already allow dogs in Fitzgerald fields, so unless you're going to vote on not allowing them in the fields at all, it's safer for the average person that they're in the park where they're not running up to a stroller, they're not, knocking over a jogger or whatnot. And if you look at the other communities, all the surrounding communities have dog parks, so they've all figured out how to make it work. There's a community and a sense of responsibility that goes with it, and as soon as dogs start getting too rambunctious, the people who are in the dog park monitoring it will step in and say, stop. And, in other words, it's unbelievable how responsible they are.
I concur with this, because Hamden has a dog park.
People have I know there are a lot of dog parks.
No, hear me out. So I have an uncle who has a dog who's 90. He goes to this
The
dog
dog or
park.
your uncle?
Maybe both. Well, I know my uncle's 90, not the dog. Probably not the dog. Well, in dog years, maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, I will tell you, dog park people police dog parks. It's clean. They watch after each other. They talk to each other. It's good socializing for people that don't have somebody living in their house all the time. I think it's a good idea. I also agree with this whole thing about dogs are way more rambunctious when they're on a leash than when they're off a leash. They feel a little trapped when they're on this leash. I know there's a lot of experts here that probably disagree, but I let my dog just carry her leash. So
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole area is going to be fenced in.
it is all fenced
It's
in.
already fenced in.
Yeah, but I know, but you're going to reinforce it
But
for the
further-
smaller
yes.
dog.
And they're gonna have a double gate.
Yeah, and the whole
An
thing, so
airlock
it's
at
not as
the
if the dog.
Well, the district animal control is going to give us even more advice if they would, but also we went to the American Kennel Club, visited all the parks in the area. So you're going to make sure the little dogs' heads can't sneak out, and you have a double, what you call an airlock, so that when you're leashing, unleashing.
I will tell you though, Hamden doesn't have it split up, big dogs and little dogs.
It does.
It does.
Oh, it does?
It does.
But they use it creatively. The smaller portion of the park, I don't know if it's labeled for little dogs, but in practice they use it for timid dogs. They use it for weary old dogs, little dogs, and it's kind of a nice timeout area, so that you go in there first if you're not sure. Be there for a while, smell the dogs, but don't touch the dogs, and then come out. So it's nice that they use it kind of creatively, and I think that's the kind of thing we'd like to do as well.
Oh, and the senior center director, Jeanette Glicksman, said that this is a marvelous idea for seniors. If you walk around Fitzgerald Field, easily more than half of the people walking there are senior. And like I said, cane in one hand, leash in the other. And what's happening is they've come to me and said, our doctors or our children are telling us we have to give up the dog because, if you take the dog in the dog park and you let them run for 10 minutes and get out the crazies, and then you can take your own constitutional with your dog, and the dog's not going to be yanking you down the path. Otherwise, if they don't have it, they're saying that they're going to have to give up their dog because of risk of broken hips and whatnot. So Jeanette was really in favor of it, not only for the safety of the senior citizens, but also as a community gathering place with every single day they can talk to people informally. They don't have to make an appointment or go play bingo. They can see their friends every day. And that's important in this town, really important.
We don't really do anything, we don't do any housing for the area. Okay.
Both Jeanette at Senior Center and Karen Lombardi, who is here and can probably speak for herself, made it very clear that a double gate system was really necessary for everybody's safety. And one of the things that you do with a double gate system, sort of a vestibule, is that's the place where the dog owner and the dog are alone, and the dog gets the leash taken off. So the dog will never meet another dog on leash inside the park unless, something awful happens. But the idea is everybody inside is off leash. Nobody has to struggle to get a leash on as the gate is opening and somebody's dog is, running away. So we did put in that double gate system in the plan, reinforcing the existing fencing, which turns out to be a very strong gauge, hand-tied wire that's actually built for large animals. So these aren't large animals, so we want to make sure it is strong, but we want to make sure it's reinforced with a finer, not gauge, but smaller openings.
Up
so
5 feet.
And we want to make sure that there is that second portion so that small, timid, weary dogs have their own space. Also, that there needs to be a gating system so that lawnmowers can get through effectively. And we wanted to make sure that that center section, which is kind of a shade island, which we treasure because we're really light-skinned and we need the shade. But one of the things that Karen pointed out was that obstructs a view, so that a dog owner could be on one side of the island and not be able to see dogs on the other. And we built into this plan the idea of really getting rid of all the underbrush there so that you've got a very low rock wall and a few trunks, and you have pretty good visibility. So
with benches there.
Benches.
Fundraising
in the,
benches.
Around the island facing out so you can see your dog or keep walking around and be able to see your dog.
And all of that's within the footprint, so nothing is going to be bumped out of the existing. Yeah, we were surprised. We had, I know a guy in fencing, he just said informally, would you tell me about that? And he said that's the strongest fence you could purchase, the one that's there. And he said, you're lucky. And I said,
it was to make sure the chestnut trees didn't run away.
well, I know, I said, why do they need something strong? Well, it's to keep the deer and the other animals out of the chestnut enclosure. So the strength of it is there, and the pressure-treated posts are great. They're all in really, really good condition. It's just that the lower 5 feet, the squares now are 4 inches, I think, 4 or 5 inches. They need to be smaller. So
there's one portion that needs to be repaired where it looks like somebody tried to rip a vine down.
Yeah.
And that,
pull the wire off the top.
Yeah. But
that's easy.
It hasn't lost its strength. It's just doesn't look good. And a repair would be part of what we would want to do.
Any other questions?
Nope. One thing that's missing is a pond.
A pond?
A pond.
Thank you very much.
Love that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it could be the animal of some pool. A swimming pool.
I don't even have that.
Yeah.
I can't sure as I don't want it. I hate water.
Okay, we're gonna move into our work session. Yeah, I was gonna do the dog.
Everyone's moved because it was zero open. That's one. 2 vision demands. I moved to allow. We don't need discussion. Vision design. There's no choice. DOT saying they're widening the road, we gotta move the sign. I moved in favor.
Oh, is it a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I'll keep moving down the list.
From all these, I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Third. That was the farm stand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any
I'm sorry,
discussion?
who's second? You're not voting tonight, I'm sorry.
Then I'll second.
I'm not sure that that's right, Christine, but I'll talk to you afterward. I think there was a change in status, so I'll talk to you afterward.
Oh.
I was sworn in otherwise.
Ah. Nobody told me that.
Yeah. Jeff's an alternate.
I'm an alternate, yeah.
I think he's right, though. Okay, well, let's move along anyway. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Happy Homes Vet Behavior Training LLC, 1 Mountain Road.
I am going to recuse myself from consideration because one of my clients testified in that matter.
Chicken.
You're right.
Yeah, that's all I know, he's a member.
That way you can sit
I'd be
down.
happy to go around the table before I voice my opinion about it. If there's discussion.
So, just to
I
be
have
clear,
a
even if
problem.
I've made a mistake, Andy's now officially on board.
Yeah, you're gonna confirm it, but
I've got to find out about that because nobody said
Okay.
anything. But we'll check out.
Steve, are you an alternate?
Hmm?
He was an alternate. And
No, he's not an alternate.
I'm not an alternate.
Yeah, I
he
know.
was an alternate,
He was, I know.
and then he was moved up, and Paul came on to replace Buddy.
Okay, well, we don't have to do this now.
No, I know that.
Okay, good.
I'm saying that's why I've
Okay.
got to check it out.
Well, let's input on the Happy Homes. Otherwise, I'm gonna talk to you.
Well, when I hear so much negative from the shelter, and the people who work for the shelter, and how it's going to affect the shelter, then I have a problem. I mean, are they saying it for the hell of it? No. And initially I thought that, having one near the other would, what's the problem? But from hearing from what they're saying from the shelter, there could be a problem. It could be a big problem. And so therefore I have a problem with it. Considering how much we're spending on the shelter also, and the new shelter, and what's going to be there, okay.
I think that they can work hand in hand.
Well-
I mean,
I don't know if
with
they
all due
can.
respect for everyone that works at the shelter, I've been in the shelter, I've been in a lot of shelters. It isn't quiet when you walk through the shelter. I mean, maybe the cats, but not the dogs. So,
You're not there at night. You're not there late in the afternoon necessarily.
well, actually, you don't
I-
actually know
I
when I was
don't-
there, so I appreciate that, but that's beside the point. I also think somebody wants to put a business in town. I don't think we should say, oh, because the town has an animal shelter there, you're not gonna be able to put a business in town that has to do with dogs. I mean, what kind of protection is in that? Seems, I don't know, it seems extreme. I don't,
I feel like I don't know enough that people on either side spoke passionately about it, seemingly knowledgeably about it. And it's hard to parse out what is really the best way to go. I mean, Tracy's a veterinarian. I believe that she knows her business and about communicable diseases of the animals and how far they're going to travel. And she's a trainer. But I get that the animal control officers have been working with animals in that capacity for years. So it's hard to parse it out.
I think that it's another business that wants to come into town, and I think that there's a certain amount of credibility to that. So I just question that someone can dictate. We don't have rules about where you can put dog training facilities and where you can't put dog training facilities. To be honest with you, I think this is a good spot for a dog training facility.
But they're asking for our approval, and so therefore we have a right to say no.
Yeah, I know what we have a right to do.
So,
and I'm
I
just
mean-
explaining to you that.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Okay. Well,
far apart are these facilities? How far apart are they?
They're at least 60 feet. No, actually, they're probably more. At least.
And there's land in between?
That's what I mean.
Pieces? Is there a driveway or something between them?
It's
There's more
basically
than
a
a driveway.
it's a driveway plus, but
The driveway's
hear-
here, but
will-
the building is over there.
will you hear dogs one from the other? Yes, very easily.
I mean, it's like someone's gonna come along and say that the guy next door can't have 6 dogs at his house because I don't wanna listen to him because I have 1 dog. I mean, dogs bark.
Don't the dogs in the shelter bark at each other? So there's some anxiety, possibly already internal to the shelter.
I think we're.
Don't say barking up the wrong tree.
Well, okay. Very good. I don't see why we would not let this woman open up this business. That seems crazy.
Because whether it's appropriate in that area.
I guess I guess I'm not agreeing with what I'm hearing as appropriate and inappropriate. So, I mean,
That seemed like a lot of dogs. 30 dogs is a lot of dogs.
not most of the time though, she's not boarding 30 dogs. She's talking about having dogs that are in training. And which are mostly gonna be inside unless they're going outside to go to the bathroom.
No, that's not.
Okay. I don't think we should be stopping a business from coming to the town. I'm not buying it, but I'm only one vote here, so. But if anybody wants to make a motion,
I'll move to approve the application.
second? Is there a second?
Oh, I thought you seconded.
No, and then, I'm not.
You can't, I'll second.
Is there any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Paul, how did you vote?
Abstain.
That makes it a favorable vote.
3-2. All right. So I hear you went to Scrog.
I actually missed the last meeting, but if you were at our last meeting, you would
I
have
saw it.
heard
I read the minutes.
Yeah.
I was very impressed. I was disappointed I wasn't here to hear the report.
Yeah, so I have no further report, unfortunately. Didn't make the last one. I hope to make this month.
We have to do the Center Road.
Yeah, you're skipping over Center Road.
Oh,
The Chestnut
where's
Dog
Center
Park.
Road?
It's number.
Oh, the dog.
The dog.
Number
It's not even
7.
on here.
It's number.
I mean, I'll put it on your,
It's on the.
Oh, it is. I'm sorry.
It's
7.
it's there, it's number 7.
Okay, so number 7, dog park. So what we're agreeing to is that that this is a good use of this part of the Fitzgerald property for a dog park.
In accordance with the town.
In accordance with our town plan. And thanks.
Well, I would still like to see something from Jerry about what the town's,
Sovereign immunity.
what the town's.
Town has sovereign immunity.
Huh?
Town has sovereign immunity. It can't be, it has sovereign immunity. It can't be sued
Unless it's been waived by
unless it's
statute.
been waived, but
By
it's not.
statute. I have no idea, none whatsoever.
Unless it's been waived.
Nor do I care, I'm here. I'm perfectly happy with having it down. I think a dog park would be very good for the town.
I think that exclosure is a great place for it. I mean, that's a deer exclosure. That thing is sturdy. It's going to last forever. And adding that, whatever the chicken wire or the rabbit fence below is just what it needs to make it a really substantial exclosure. And it's going to, I mean, otherwise, what are we going to do? Rip it down? What a waste of all those materials.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a
Steve,
perfect
I will
site.
tell you that Jerry has weighed in on this technically. He was at the Board of Selectmen meeting when they,
I don't know what he said.
Well, I'm assuming that he didn't discourage it from being done if the Board of Selectmen.
I can tell you that what the statute says is that an owner or keeper of a dog, so if you give me your dog to take care of, I'm equally responsible as you, the owner, while I have the dog in my possession. Not some third party pursuant to the Connecticut dog bite statute.
Okay, so.
Do you need a formal motion or?
Typically, what you do is you move to make a favorable report or whatever kind of report you want to make.
I think the Board of Selectmen can make the determination on liability too. It's our job to determine whether or not it is consistent with the town.
That the use is consistent.
The use is consistent.
So moved.
I move to recommend approval.
Second. You're the second, I think. Paul was the first.
Yeah.
We're just giving everybody a shot. Come on, we're just being a hog.
Wants to get his name in the minutes.
I pass.
Okay, any more discussion? Are you okay with this, Steve?
Am I okay with it?
Yeah.
I don't, I'll abstain.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Except one abstain. Abstention. Taking care of the dog. We're taking care of the
Just so you
dogs.
guys know, is that a letter will be sent from us to the Board of Selectmen saying that they reviewed it.
The dog-eat-dog world.
Oh, come on.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
For my
Thank
dog.
Okay, so it's 10:15. Yes, we are. No, we're not.
Leslie, quick.
We have Leslie.
Quick.
Well, actually, she probably is. Leslie's going to talk to us tonight about regulations, and I'm hoping that she agrees with us that we can start having public meeting about this, the reg changes, and hopefully I'd like to do it by the end of the month. If that,
The meeting?
The public hearings you'd like to have?
not a public hearing, a public information meeting, not a public hearing. So I want to go to a public meeting first, get input, and then we can schedule a public hearing.
We're ready for that, Leslie?
Okay.
The text of the document is pretty close to done, based upon all of the meetings that you all were gracious enough to come to and help with edits and changes. Formatting always takes longer, and it always takes longer than you think it's going to take. But I have emailed 3 chapters to Chris and to Terry. The other 2 chapters are just too big, so I need to put them on a drive, and I'll get them to you too, Jeff. What was that? Hurry?
Well, actually, I can't wait. I'm ready for this. It's good.
Yeah. So I think, I think by the end of the month, we're certainly in good shape to go to informational meetings. The difference between the informational meeting and the public hearing is informational meetings are just that. They're informal. They don't count for anything. You don't vote. It's just to allow public comment, and, I'm sure that there will be changes that we'll make based upon those comments. Even all of us don't think of everything. So we'll move ahead with that, and then we will proceed to application. The application then is the formal part where will be an application for an amendment to the text and an amendment to the map. Those will be 2 separate applications. They will be submitted simultaneously, and then there will be public hearings, and generally the procedure is the same as for a special exception. It's public hearings, you have, because the application is coming from the commission, you don't have the same time constraints with the 65 days and all of that. It's your application, so you can, if you find that you need, a little extra time for public hearing or whatever, that's not an issue, but it's basically the same process. And it goes to the COG.
One question on the informational hearings.
Meeting.
Excuse me, meeting. How do you give notice of that?
It's
Is
just
this-
on the agenda. It's the same way you would notice anything else.
Oh, so this would occur during one of our meetings?
No,
That's
it
a-
could- well, it could be a
That's-
special meeting.
or
I'm
is-
thinking it's a special meeting.
But is it a meeting, that's what I'm trying to understand. Is it a meeting of the board commission, or is it something separate and apart from that?
No, the commission would be calling the meeting for the public to come and have, initially, I would go
It's
through
not
and
a public
explain.
hearing.
It's not a public hearing, it's a public meeting, right? That's the,
Okay.
It's informal, no vote, no not public
The
comment.
thing is, you want to have the public come. There's no
Right.
benefit to having it without the public come.
Right.
So one thing I would suggest that we do is to check with Sheila McCrevin, who's filling in for Betsy Yagla. Well, Betsy's on maternity leave, and apparently there's a population boom going on. Betsy had twin girls also, but anyway. We could put it in the newsletter and whatnot, so we can get it out there in as many places as people can see it. The other trick is to have it available for people to see
Beforehand.
Because I don't know how we do that if the document's that big that I can't.
I tried to send it to you as a Word document so that you could do the track changes. So I'm gonna see if I can send it to you as a PDF, if you can change it to a Word document. That might work.
Loses the formatting. You spend all the time on formatting, it's gonna screw it up if you go from Word to PDF to Word. It's gonna be-
Okay, we will not be doing that.
Dropbox, Dropbox, you guys use Dropbox?
Yeah, we could do Dropbox.
Google Drive, OneDrive.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the public has the ability to see it enough in time.
Well, like on our POCD, we had in place, we had some in the library.
That was a much smaller document.
I know, but we had,
Yeah, no, we
had
can
hard
put them in the
copies for
library,
people to come and look at.
We had copies here for people to look at, but this is a big document.
I know.
And you're still gonna have, you have to have hard copies.
Yeah, well, we can have hard copies at the library, we can have hard copies here, we can have, and then put it on the website for people to look at, and we'll put them on by chapter so that,
So, I just remembered, one of the things in the POCD recommended was enlarging the area for the, what is that area called? Town center? No, not town center.
What about the village area?
The village area. We talked about increasing the village area. I think we were adding like 2 street areas. So I think we should put that in this, for this vote as well, and public hearing.
But
Well,
you
that's the
haven't had a
map.
hearing yet.
I know we haven't had a hearing, but as far as public comment, we are gonna have a hearing eventually.
Yeah.
So I'm saying we should have it as part, we should put that in there as well.
For the public comment.
Right. Okay.
So do you want that,
We should go back and look at the POCD and see what the recommendation is and take it from there.
okay, I just want to be clear whether that's something that you want to address separately from the regulations. Do you want to have a separate vote on increasing the size of the village district, or do you want to have that
Well, I was thinking that it
incorporated?
would be good if we can do it all at once,
Okay,
unless someone
Well,
tells
you
me
were
we
talking-
can't.
that's fine.
You were talking about needing 2 votes, one on the map and one on the
Text.
text. Wouldn't what Jeff is talking about be part of the map vote?
Yes. It could be.
Yeah.
You could do them,
That
yes, you can do them as
Yeah, I think we
one
should,
vote.
we're talking about the whole
That's right.
lower Woodbridge
Yeah.
area, so that's, I think, when we're talking
Yeah.
to do that.
That's fine.
Okay. All right.
Sorry,
When, so when, go ahead.
Date. I said the hard question is date.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta-
Does anybody have any bad days at the end of the month?
Well, now the next question, with all due respect, is where are you gonna do this? 'Cause I need to, if you're not gonna, I mean, do you need more room than here?
Can we
So
do
I
it?
have to find a space too.
Well, I would vote for the library space first if we can ever get it, and then I guess center school.
That's smaller than here,
What is?
where you met in the library.
That auditorium space? Smaller than this?
In the auditorium or the center building?
No.
The
In the library.
The meeting room in the
Meeting
library?
room in the library.
I think it is
That's smaller than this.
Really?
I think it's smaller than this. It's filled with, first of all, it doesn't have these tables.
It's smaller than this.
It holds more people though.
I will check with the fire marshal.
Okay.
Being optimistic on the number of people that might show up.
Maybe do you want to
I'm
find
gonna
out
make it
when
the same
it's
way.
available?
So you think it's gonna be more or less?
Less.
Much.
So do
I mean, you can do
A
it
lot
in the
less
senior center
than you
too.
think.
I mean, downstairs. That holds, you know, you've done things there.
It's really hard to hear there, right? The sound system.
I think
just
there's a sound system. I mean, I can check a sound system for you.
All right, first find a date.
Because the problem is if you have too many people show up, then you're turning people away, and that's not good
If you don't
either.
have enough people to show up, it looks
Sure.
ridiculous.
Okay, so Chris is gonna send out an email to everybody for the last week
With
in
dates.
October.
For the last week in October?
Yeah, the 23rd through the 26th. And when will we get the final thing?
That'll be the information meeting? The
Yes.
23rd?
No, that week. Chris is gonna send an email.
And then once I know dates, then I can start seeing where I
Right.
can shoehorn you in.
When will the commission get a copy of this?
We have, so she can figure out how to send it to us.
Yeah, yeah. I guess worst case scenario is it's printed and delivered.
Oh, just put it on, in Dropbox.
We're
We'll get
meeting
it from
on the
there.
16th, aren't we?
That's what I was just checking. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're on the 16th,
Okay.
I think. Or are we
So-
on the 18th? We're in the week of the 16th.
Yeah, we're the 18th.
So staff is meeting on the 18th.
Maybe you guys can meet earlier.
I'm not here next week.
How about this week?
Terry's gone. Well, we just got this today. And we only got 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5 work.
There's 2 more things that
Chapters.
we haven't, chapters that we haven't. And Terry's in Massachusetts at training for building inspectors until Thursday.
Road trip.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm going to get
Well,
them.
I'm gonna leave it to you guys, but we really wanna meet the last week in October, so somebody needs to figure out how to do that.
Figure it out.
Great, that'll be good. All right, the other thing is, can we ask you to look at something that's come up at our meeting tonight?
That pro bono part of my job?
No, it doesn't have to be pro bono. You're no
Sure.
different than when we go to Bob Criscola, as far as I'm concerned. Input on the putting residential up in the GB area.
Right now, you had, when we went through the zoning regulations and the use chart, each of those uses on that chart, you agreed that that was a desire, that having mixed use in that area was
This needs to
desirable.
be part of your hearing.
Well, actually, she's just answering a question about something that's in the regulations that we're doing.
I'm not a lawyer, I don't put on TV.
Yeah, we are on TV.
I know.
With regard to the GB district generally and the intent that you have shown throughout our discussions, you have been leaning toward mixed use in that area, which would include the ability to have residential units.
Okay, which is pretty much what I said during the meeting. Okay.
What about the height issues they provided, however? Is Leslie going to look at that also?
No.
No?
I was actually going to have staff look at other towns and what they have for definitions of towers.
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 Right now, I was looking through it, and we don't have a height definition for a building.
Yes, we do.
Well, we do.
Where?
Building
It's
height.
in the
Oh, it's
grid.
building height?
It's in the grid.
Building height. We
Because
shouldn't be
there's a
discussing
height
this. The
and then
hearing
there's-
is not open. It's under a building, height of building.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about
Oh,
this.
okay. Sorry.
But anyway, this is already part of our regulation, so it has to be in there. Yeah, I know.
And it's not that.
Yes, I know. Which is why I wanted to carry the hearing, because it's two different things.
It's not even the exception.
I know. I know. Okay. So we want to find out what other towns refer to towers as. What their definition.
Definitions of towers.
Right. Size, height. All right, so Leslie, is there anything else that you need from us?
Nope.
Good deal, I'm sorry you had to stay here so long.
It had some entertainment value.
Getting a little doggy.
We have election of officers.
So we're having election of officers. Nominations.
I nominate Jeff Kaufman.
For 38-minute meetings, I might,
What's that?
Who's
I
second?
might vote for 38-minute meetings.
I know, really.
He just has a deeper voice, I did too. It's okay,
Defer.
it's okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye, or no? Yeah? Yes.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'm gonna nominate Alan to continue as secretary.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's good. Selection of representatives to SCROG. Skolnick.
Yeah.
Come on, you got it down now to a system.
You have to nominate me.
So moved.
Second.
Actually, it's a selection,
That's right, selection.
so it's yours.
I'll do it, I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's pretty cool.
But it's not cool.
You just need to get there. No, and actually, some of the stuff is pretty interesting what other towns are doing. I mean, it's like almost impossible to get there is the problem.
Yeah, it's at 5:30.
Yeah, right.
That's
Because
Thursday.
they want to keep it in their workday. And, yeah.
But at least they give you pizza.
It is, that's why I like it.
See?
Free food and drink.
Is there somebody who would like to be the alternate? Mr. Kenny, how would you like to be the alternate?
I'd be happy to.
Publicly owned properties, ex officio member. So I've been doing that, but they haven't been telling me when the meetings are. So I have put a request
You made
in
yourself
that.
unwelcome, is that what you're telling us?
I'm telling you, I went to one meeting. I'm not sure I said anything. I really don't think I did say anything. And they said to me, you know, you really only have to come to this meeting when we need you. And I haven't heard from him
And you've
since.
never heard from him since.
Not since. So I'll stay on that. And I don't, have we ever had anybody on the West Rock Ridge State?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
that person, but I've been able to go once in the last 2 years.
She
Because
was,
it comes
and
up
I
with
was
the last,
West Rock, I was before you.
yeah, you were before me, but it's like those meetings are 4 on Thursdays. And it's like, I thought, oh, this is a great way to guarantee I leave work early.
I think we should go for the new guy. No, not him. He's not the new guy.
It's right
He's
here.
been here for a couple of years.
It is, it's right here.
And it's normally here.
Right, and if you like West Rock Ridge, it's really interesting to be on it. You just have to be able to get here at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoons and
This Thursday.
1 October, it's this Thursday?
It's this Thursday.
He'll be here. They serve pizza?
No, they don't.
Wow.
It's a state thing, there's no money.
Right. It's really interesting.
Can they leave the candy bowl out in Pat's office?
They don't even do that anymore.
They hide it, because everybody was coming in.
Considering the budget, is there anybody there anymore at the state?
Fewer and fewer.
At the DEP?
Okay, do we have approval of minutes? Yes, we do.
So I'm sorry, what are we doing with, is Paul doing that now?
Yes.
I just won't be here this Thursday.
It's been selected.
They do it twice a year, it's usually the first Thursday of October.
There's two
and the
meetings,
first
and
Thursday
of them is
of
Thursday.
April. Thursday.
Two meetings. One of them is
said you
Thursday.
do it.
Fine, I won't be here this Thursday though.
Yeah, I know.
I'm on the road.
You're missing half the meeting.
Like, this is
I think it's
terrible.
better than the previous person. I need 1 of 4.
I move we approve the minutes.
Thank you.
So moved.
I
Any
abstain.
comments?
No.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I'm abstaining also.
Wasn't
Kathleen.
here, I'm abstaining.
Whoever wasn't there.
I was there for a change.
Yeah, no. I saw that too. I saw him give the report on Scrog. I couldn't believe it, and then I see you there. All right.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Thank you, guys. And ladies. Guys.